Welcome to Ron's ATech workshop. Today we're going to see if we can adapt this small remote control car that I got at Walmart. This is a great starter conversion project if you're getting into adaptive technology and making this switch friendly. It's inexpensive, about $6 or $7 I believe, and the case is pretty easy to get into. So let's go ahead. First off, I have another one that I took out of its box. So you have the little car, which we aren't going to really have to mess with at all for this conversion. The thing is to get this remote control, right? You've got the up, down, left, right, but these are not switch friendly. So the first thing we're going to do is take things apart. You just need a small Phillips screwdriver, and this particular one is really nice to get into because it has just 6 Phillips head screws that need to be removed. This one in the middle is for the battery. We don't need to touch that right now, but you just unscrew the 6 screws. This is nice because some toys, they snap together or they make it really hard to find stuff. This particular one I'm very happy with. So there's one, I've got 4 of them out, and then there's the 6 screws. It's a good idea I have this little rubber mat that I work on this stuff with. Keeps things from rolling around. Or a helpful hint when you're taking stuff apart, if it has a bunch of different screws. I got these are for mixing paints. You get it at the dollar store, but I also use it to like hold my little screws while I'm working on things. So I can kind of say, oh, okay, this is for the controller. So put that out of the way. So now that we have the 6 screws taken out, just lift up the top. And you could see, oh my goodness, is there not a lot of empty space in here? Well, that's good for us because the more empty space there is, the easier it is to convert a toy. In this particular toy, it has these joysticks, which are supposed to look like analog sticks, but in fact, they're just digital push buttons. So they're kind of cheating there. It's not an analog, it's just digital on-off. Again, which is perfect for converting to switches. These little joystick things just pop right out. They're not held, they're just held in place by sitting there. So off they go. Now you have the control board. Now what you're seeing here is, and they also, this is very nice because they label it. This white wire here is an antenna. So it's a very short antenna. They don't even need to feed it out like the other remote control cars. So the antenna is all internal. You have the positive and negative that attach to the battery. So that's for power. They have a power switch here. I don't have batteries in it right now. A little LED to tell you that it's on or off. This is a crystal. We don't really need to mess with that. That works with the brains of it, which I'll show you in a sec. And then most importantly, the little tiny buttons that are on here: forward, back, left, right. So our goal here is we want to make this external switch compatible, and it's got 2 screws here. So let me unscrew that one screw, and I just put it in my little container there so I know that it was for this part. Again, this when I first took it apart, again, I really liked it because it doesn't have a lot of complication inside. Okay, so now the board is loose. We don't yank on the power. You want to keep those all in place. So let's look at the back and talk about the back. Very straightforward. What this is a microcontroller. It's specifically designed for these remote control cars. There's a similar one in the car itself. It handles all of the buttons, the frequencies, the transmissions, all that stuff in one little chip. And they make millions of these, so they're very inexpensive. We don't need to touch it. That's just the brain. That little brain is working with that crystal there and that little tin can that keeps it going at a certain speed. That's all. More technical than you need. Let's see. Now, okay, we could see where these switches, existing switches, are coming through. So we need to get this out somehow, right? So we could plug in an external switch. You have a couple of choices, one of which, and it depends on how much space you have to work with and how much soldering you want to do. You could purchase a number of different kinds of 3.5 millimeter jacks, these jacks that are commonly used with assistive technology, and kind of drill a hole and have a nice thing with wires coming out. These work fine for some purposes. I've found for the toys that using these pre-wired 3.5 millimeter mono plugs are the way to go. Now they usually come in packs of 10. That's about your best deal if you're looking on Amazon, and you'll need 4 of them altogether for this project. So you only have one for up, one for down, left, right. Now, if you want to simplify it, or you say, reverse is a real pain to deal with, you could always forget the reverse. But these are nice because they are, I think they're about $1, $30, $50 each. You can get them in huge quantities that are much less expensive, but even at $1.50, that's not bad, right? So how would you go about it? Well, let's take this rightmost switch first. This switch is for controlling right. And these, see the kind of silvery greeny lines and whatnot going there? Those are copper traces within the printed circuit board, aka the PCB. You'll see people talk about PCBs, printed circuit board. So the switches are directly soldered to this, and they're separated, see, by these little lines. So that's a break. So there's electrical connections between these 4, between these 2, and between these 2. See how they're separated? It's like a little fence. Think of it as a little fence that goes around the area. So a switch, under normal conditions, a simple switch is yes or no, right? It's either on or off. So it only needs 2 connections. Now, these micro switches, because of the way they're mounted, and these are usually mounted by a robot, have 4 pins, but in reality, it's 2 and 2. They're paired off, and either will work. That's the important thing. If you see something crazy going on, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, they'll be tied together like this. There's some examples. I haven't seen them in toys, though. So in this case, we would need to connect this and this to our external jack. So you'd get your soldering iron out, and I'm not going to do soldering on this particular one because I'm just trying to demo the concept. But these 2 wires would be soldered right there, and that would take care of the right button. All right, so once I have that soldered, I would pull out another cable, fresh one, nice, ready to go. It's already got the leads taken out. And I look at switch 2 left, and I flip it over, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I could either, depending on how good I am at my soldering, maybe I want to solder between these 2 points or these 2 points. Either will work. But again, you're not going this way. No, there's no point because this is just already connected. You're going across. So you could either solder this or this for left, and these two or these two for right. The up and down are exactly the same. So in this case, we see here is the up. These are the 4 pins of that micro switch that are up. You could see there's a little fence between them. So in this case, you know you have to solder this and this like that. Okay. Now this fourth one is a good example of how they cut corners often in this manufacturing. You'll see this a lot in inexpensive toys. These 4 of the switch. This one is not even soldered, and it has no trace near it. So they're like, oh, we were lazy, we don't feel like doing it, so they left it. But you can see these 2 are connected, and this one with the fence in between it. So in this case, for this one, I could go this way. I would have to go that and that, like those 2. Okay? So don't even mess around with this because it's not connected to anything. So again, for this particular toy, for reverse, I would connect a cable right there and there. And for forward, right there and there. And for left, maybe there. And for right, maybe there. Now before you solder, one thing you do want to do is want to see, well, am I going to be able to fit my wires? This is a constant problem I have with converting these toys. This case, though, has a lot of room. So you could have one soldered that way, one soldered this way. You have some wiggle room. You still need to be careful. You don't want to interfere with anything. You want everything to go back together nicely. But you got a lot of space. Now, how do you get the cables out? It depends. What I do, there's always, I shouldn't say always, but there's often little parts that serve no purpose whatsoever except to look cool. Oh, it looks like an LED. Well, it's a piece of plastic. Well, there's a hole right there. And you could use a pair of nippers or even side cutters if you take your time to cut a big enough hole so the 4 leads come out. So it's definitely going to look like an octopus. Well, it'll look like half of an octopus, right? Because it's going to have 4 cables coming out. But when you do this and you've done your soldering and you can test it out and put your screws back, get that board back in there, put the batteries in, the control will act normally. So if a parent or a caregiver is trying to help out, the parent or caregiver can actually still use the control. The control is not dead. It works as normal. It's just that you have attached 4 leads that then you can use your favorite 3.5 millimeter cables and your favorite switches, which we know that there are a million switches out there. This is one little switch that I make, which is actually 4 keys on a keyboard for testing this stuff. So it's all nice and small. A little plug for my work. But there you go. I mean, this one is a good one. If you could find it at Walmart, it's usually kind of in their end cap area toys. It's like their $6, $7 toys. I was able to snag the cool red fire truck. The last 2 they had, they have some green cars and yellow cars, but the fire truck looked the coolest, so that's the one I got. And they're fun to play with, and it's a fun way to learn how to get into this without a lot of cost. So, you know, if you break a $5 remote control, you can't solder it, well, you still got a $5 remote control car. You know, it's pretty strong. It's designed for kids, and these things have been around. So there you go. I hope that this helps. I will be making more videos about how to convert different things, toys, whatnot, keyboards, just to help the ATech community for those folks who really want to dive in and do their own. Thanks for watching.